All right, old school NBA fans, self-research, NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. In this video here, going after another one of these media fools, Shannon Sharpe. I heard a clip. It really fires me up with these guys with their narrative building that they do. All these things are about building a narrative. It's all it is. And specifically, Shannon Sharpe is talking about how many Hall of Famers on a team. That is the mark of how good the team was. Not record, how many All-NBA players, All-Stars, none of that matters. The net rating, offense, defense, none of it matters. It's only about Hall of Famers. And I'll prove it to you. Here's two multiple clips of Shannon Sharpe. You've probably seen them, or at least the one. You tell me. This is what this guy thinks. Here you go.
I mean, think about what he's going up against. He lost to the Spurs.
Going up against
the Spurs. How many Hall of Famers do the Spurs have?
You hate the Spurs. You always call them broccoli.
But that doesn't mean their coaches going to the Hall of Fame. Duncan, Parker, and Manu.
Michael Jordan was going up against the Goon Squad in New York. Patrick Ewing, the late, great Anthony Mason.
Not a Hall of Famer.
Charles Oakley.
My good friend, not a Hall of Famer.
John Starks.
Not a Hall of Famer.
It doesn't matter. They were beating his butt.
Is Kevin Garnett going to the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Is Paul Pierce going to the Hall of Fame?
It's a different time.
Is Ray Allen going to the Hall of Fame?
And they beat him too.
Because we didn't feel he could beat our five. He's talking about 3 first ballot Hall of Famers. Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. Rondo is a fringe. We will remain to be seen. And they're talking about beating a 24, 25-year-old LeBron James. Now, that was Skip. Think about this. It was KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Rondo. Kendrick Perkins, Tony Allen, and Rasheed Wallace came off the bench. Going against LeBron James, Mo Williams, Antoine Jameson, Tony Parker, 37-year-old Shaq, and Anderson Varejao. Larry Bird didn't say we broke Mike. Those guys didn't talk about that. You didn't break.
That's exactly right. Keep talking.
But hold on, Skip. Because they realized it's Mike against 3. It's Mike against 4. But when Mike got Scotty, now Michael going through that kicking butt.
So yeah, that was old Shannon. And as you can see, he thinks that it's only about Hall of Famers. And if the team doesn't have 3, 4, 5 Hall of Famers, then it just wasn't that good of a team. I mean, it's ridiculous. This guy should not be on TV talking about NBA basketball. He should not. They should be putting him to the NFL or just put him out to pasture. I know he's got his own legal troubles right now anyway, but whatever. I'm just saying this guy should not be allowed to speak. He's a LeBron James cheerleader. He can do no wrong. I'm just so sick of these people. I'm going to run through a few things. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with Shannon Sharpe or do you agree with me? My position is that a team's record, at least it used to be, say before 2016, it used to be a great gauge on how good a team was. Because everybody's trying to get home court advantage because it meant a lot back then. Now it just doesn't seem to mean much at all. Seeding, home court, yeah, it's a different time in the NBA. But the times when he was talking about it, Shannon Sharpe, it did mean a lot. I'm going to run through the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. This is the best example. And I'm going to show you the level of competition they had. And at the end of it, let's see if you agree with me. In 1991, when the Bulls won their first championship, they played the New York Knicks. The Knicks had 2 Hall of Famers. They had Patrick Ewing and Maurice Cheeks. According to Shannon Sharpe, that's a tough first-round matchup. The next round, they played Philly. They only had Barkley. The conference finals, Detroit. They had 3 Hall of Famers. The fact that they're 2-time defending champion doesn't matter so much. But they had 3 Hall of Famers. Of course, Shannon Sharpe is going to go to the age of the players, but that's a whole nother topic. But the age doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is they're in the Hall of Fame. The age doesn't matter. If they were injured, none of it matters. If it's a Hall of Famer, you count them. That elevates the team for every Hall of Famer. That's the measurement this idiot uses. Finally, in the finals, the Lakers, who also had 3. Vlade Divac, James Worthy, and Magic Johnson. Those teams' records were 39-43, the Knicks, 44-38, the 76ers. Detroit was 50-32. Now, granted, Isaiah had injuries that helped contribute to this record. And the Lakers were 58-24. Now, going by the record, it doesn't really seem like it was that bad of a run. I mean, yeah, sure, Detroit, 50 wins or not, was still formidable, wounded. And the Lakers, they were a little wounded, no more than the Bulls were. You know, Jordan had a sprained toe they had to cut his top of his shoe for, and Worthy had the ankle, of course. But either way, they were 58-24. That's a pretty good record. Really good, actually. But in 91, they played 9 Hall of Famers to win that championship. Now, according to Shannon Sharpe, that's going to be a great run based on the Hall of Famers. In 1992, the Bulls played the Miami Heat in the first round. No Hall of Famers. The New York Knicks only had one, Ewing. Cleveland, in the conference finals, none. Portland, only one, Clyde Drexler. So in the 92 playoff run, the Bulls only beat 2 Hall of Famers. That's it. The records of those teams, though, were Miami, 38-44. New York Knicks, 51-31. Cleveland, 57-25. Portland, 57-25. According to Shannon Sharpe, this is an easy week run because it was only 2 Hall of Fame players. According to him. A joke. 1993, the Bulls played Atlanta Hawks in the first round. They just had Dominique Wilkins. In the semifinals, Cleveland. They had no Hall of Famers on that team. The Knicks just had Ewing. And Phoenix just had Barkley. The records of these teams, Atlanta was 43-39. Cleveland was 54-28. That's a pretty good record for a semifinal team. The Knicks were 60-22. And Phoenix was 62-20. Never mind that Phoenix had players like Dan Marley, Tom Chambers, Kevin Johnson. These guys may not be actual Hall of Famers, but all of them made all leagues, all stars out the wazoo. Ultimately, only 3 Hall of Famers in the 93 run. 96, the Bulls played Miami in the first round. They had 2 Hall of Famers. They had Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning. In the semifinals, they played the Knicks. Knicks only had 1. According to Shannon Sharpe, Miami is the tougher matchup because they have 2 Hall of Famers. The Knicks only had 1, even though the Knicks were the only team to beat the Bulls a single game in the 3 rounds in the East playoffs. Doesn't matter. Miami had 2 Hall of Famers. Doesn't matter about record. Nothing else matters. The Knicks only had 1. Miami had 2. That's what matters. Orlando only had 1 Hall of Famer, Shaq. So they really weren't that good for the conference finals. Penny Hardaway was first team All-NBA, finished 3rd for the MVP. But doesn't matter. He's a bum. He's not in the Hall of Fame. That's how it goes. That's what Shannon Sharpe says. He's a bum because he's not in the Hall of Fame. A 60-win team. Bums. Seattle in the finals. Only 1 Hall of Famer, Gary Payton. That's a bum team too. So the records of these teams, Miami, who had the most Hall of Famers on it, was 42-40. The Knicks were 47-35. Orlando was 60-22. They had a top 10 all-time player, and they had the player who was 3rd for MVP on it. But it doesn't matter. Only 1 Hall of Famer at the end of the day. In the finals, Seattle, 64-18. They had Gary Payton, Hall of Famer, sure. But that's it. All the rest of the guys were bums. Sean Kemp finished top 10 for MVP, along with Gary Payton. He's a 6-time All-Star, whatever, 2nd team All-NBA. Hersey Hawkins made All-Star. Detlef Schrempf made All-NBA. Bums. They're not in the Hall of Fame, so you're either in the Hall of Fame or you're a bum. That's exactly what Shannon Sharpe said. You heard him in there talking about Jordan was playing Boston 1-on-3 and 1-on-4 and all this stuff. Oh, okay. So all the other guys might as well not even be there because they're not Hall of Famers. This guy is an idiot. Idiot. 1997. First round, the Bulls played Washington. 1 Hall of Famer, Chris Webber. Semifinals, Atlanta. 1 Hall of Famer, Dikembe Mutombo. Miami had 2, Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, in the conference finals. And in the finals, Utah Jazz. They only had Stockton and Malone. Just 2 for the finals. The records of these teams were Washington 44-38, Atlanta 56-26. I think you'll find that's pretty strong for a semifinal team. They had one Hall of Famer, but they had two of the top three players for Defensive Player of the Year. Mookie Blaylock finished third. Dikembe Mutombo won Defensive Player of the Year. Christian Laettner made All-Star. And Steve Smith, I believe, was All-Star of the year before. They had a very good team. They beat the Bulls a game. Wasn't easy to do in 97. And then Miami in the conference finals was a 61-21, the number one defense in the NBA. In the finals, Utah, 64-18. But they only had two Hall of Famers. So really in the finals, not really that great, according to Shannon Sharpe. No matter what they did, the Lakers and Houston, doesn't matter. Only two Hall of Famers. See, Houston in the conference finals should have beat Utah because they had three Hall of Famers, Drexler, Barkley, and Olajuwon. The age of them doesn't matter. They were around the same age as Malone and Stockton. But Utah had the better record, doesn't matter. They had less Hall of Famers. So in Shannon Sharpe's world, that's an upset. 1998, this one's a real laugher. The Bulls in the first round played the Nets, no Hall of Famers. In the next round, they played Charlotte, one Hall of Famer. That was Vlade Divac. The next round, Indiana, just Reggie Miller. The next round, in the finals, Utah, again, Stockton, Malone, just two. So for the whole run in 98, four Hall of Famers. That's it. An average of one per team. An easy run, right? Piece of cake. So the records of these teams, New Jersey was 43-39, Charlotte was 51-31, Indiana 58-24, and Utah was 62-20. The reality is, Charlotte, they had Hall of Fame Vlade Divac, okay? But they had Anthony Mason, who was top 10 for Defensive Player of the Year. They had Glenn Rice, who was All-NBA. Indiana had All-Stars, who made an All-Star at one point in their career, of Dale Davis, Rick Smits, Antonio Davis, and of course your Hall of Famer Reggie Miller. They had another Hall of Famer actually in Chris Mullin. So actually they had two Hall of Famers. Chris Mullin coming off the bench, you got to count him. That's two Hall of Famers. So they actually had five for the 98 run. Five. Sorry about that. Out of all the runs that the Bulls had to the championship, easily their most impressive competition per Shannon Sharpe would be the 91 because they beat 9 Hall of Famers. That's their toughest run. It's a joke. It's stupid, silly, and ridiculous. That's why guys like him should not be allowed to be on TV because he's building a narrative to try to help LeBron, playing a bunch of 37 and 38-year-old Hall of Famers. Please. They talk about Jason Kidd. They went up against 2 Hall of Famers, 2 top 75 players. Jason Kidd gave you 8 points a game at 38 years old. Yeah, okay. He was better than Sean Kemp. He was better than Mark Price. Better than Kevin Johnson. Better than Penny Hardaway. He was better than Terry Porter. Please. This is what I'm talking about. These guys are ridiculous and need to be removed from television. And all you robot sheep who follow them, you guys have any thoughts for yourself? You just listen to what they say and take it as gospel and then go and actually argue their very points? Man, tell you what. Something I find very interesting in the world of Shannon Sharpe by his stupid, warped, retarded logic. Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing won 12 playoff series, 12, without a Hall of Fame teammate. That's right. 12 without a Hall of Fame teammate. How do you do it? It's a miracle. Patrick Ewing needs to be a top 10 all-time player immediately because they had a good team. It was a team. It wasn't just 1 or 2 guys. It was a team. The Knicks were a formidable team. No, they weren't all-time great, nothing like that, but they were not easy to eliminate. They just weren't. The Bulls in 92, it took them 7 games. In 93, took them 6 hard-fought games. In 94, the Knicks reached the finals. They lost in 7 to Houston and Olajuwon. The Knicks won playoff series and only had Ewing. But nobody looked at it like Shannon Sharpe does, like, oh, wow, Patrick Ewing, man, he really did a great job because he was the only Hall of Famer on that team. Nobody even knew who were the Hall of Famers at that point. People's careers were still going on. Just silly, stupid, and it's revisionist type stuff like this that drives me nuts. Another player here, Clyde Drexler. Clyde Drexler won 8 playoff series with 2 trips to the finals without a Hall of Fame teammate before playing with Olajuwon in 95. That's a fact. Look it up. And Clyde Drexler also was the only team, Portland in 1986, to go into the Boston Garden and win a game. Yep. Clyde Drexler did that without a Hall of Fame teammate, went in there and beat all 5 of those Hall of Famers in 86 Boston. That's a fact. You can look that up. This Hall of Famer thing is so stupid. It's so silly. Everybody thinks that this is the be-all, end-all. You realize that possibly 2 of the last 4 champions won championships with a single Hall of Famer. Nikola Jokic is surely going to be the only Hall of Fame player on that 23 Nuggets team. Giannis on 21 most likely was the only Hall of Famer on that team. Drew Holiday has an outside shot. Who knows, with the lower standard, he might get in. But I wouldn't put him in. He's a good player, but he's not a Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer needs to be a little bit better. But you're telling me teams like Cleveland, who had multiple All-Stars, 3 guys in the top 15 for MVP, stuff like that. They were not a good team because nobody made it to the Hall of Fame. Injuries derailed their careers. The guy's an idiot. This is what I'm talking about. How about the 92 Trailblazers that everybody dumps on? That team was excellent. The Trailblazers had a better roster than the Bulls did. And you're going to sit up there and talk about one Hall of Famer with a bunch of role players? Kevin Duckworth is a multiple-time All-Star. Terry Porter, multiple-time All-Star. Danny Ainge, he's an All-Star with multiple championships to his name. Clifford Robinson, all-defensive player, All-Star. About Buck Williams, multiple-time All-Star, multiple-time All-Defense, and even made All-NBA. He won Rookie of the Year. These guys are not bums, no matter what. Shannon Sharpe, Nick Wright, Kendrick Perkins, any of these people that just don't have a grasp on NBA history. They have a revisionist to try to tear down Michael Jordan and a narrative because LeBron played teams in the finals that had Hall of Famers. So what? And a lot of those teams, like San Antonio, he had just as many Hall of Famers on it. Oh, they had Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, Leonard. Yeah, you had LeBron, Wade, Bosh, Allen. You had the same amount. So what? Same with 2012. You had 3 Hall of Famers. OKC had 3 Hall of Famers. So what? No big deal there. He just thinks that everything is equated to how many Hall of Famers you have on your team. And if you don't have that many, it couldn't have been a good team. It couldn't have been competition. It's just a joke. Sorry, man. I get fired up about this stuff. Anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you wouldn't mind sharing the video, that'd be great. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. I give daily content. And that's it. Until next time.